So we got a local environmental company to test our trailer. And when she walked in, she said she could smell it. And she immediately identified several active sources of mold that were growing. And she told us, pack a bag, wash the bag and everything in it, and don't spend another night here.
Hello and welcome. This is Dr. Joe Mather, Medical Director of the Ruscio Institute for Functional Medicine. I'm here with the wonderful Julie Taylor. And Julie, we've been working together for a little while, since June of 2021, and you were gracious enough to come here and share your story. So Julie, hi, thank you for being here.
Hi, thank you for having me.
You know, just want to emphasize how much we really appreciate getting you on here. It really helps us reach patients, and patients don't really listen to doctors, but they do listen to other patients. So with that background, thank you for sharing your story. I think it will help a lot of people.
Thank you.
Okay, so when we get started here, when I think about your case, you were really similar to a lot of our patients. You had a fair number of GI issues that have been going on for a long time. Can you bring us back to what you were feeling like before you got started with us?
Yes. Back in March of 2021, it felt very sudden almost, but all of a sudden I started having to run to the bathroom, to say it a nice way, every day. And for, it started in March and it did not let up for several months. And that's what led me to you. But I've been in the functional medicine realm for a while. And so I knew the low hanging fruit. I knew, to eliminate foods that in the past had given me issues. So I did that. I looked at my stress and tried to evaluate that. I did fasting, and fasting in the past had always kind of helped clear up, digestive issues. And, that didn't help either. And so it got to the point where it was affecting my daily life. It's not fun when you don't know when you're going to have an episode and have to run and find a bathroom. So that's when I did some research and found the Ruscio Clinic and brought me to y'all.
Absolutely. There's nothing worse. You absolutely were doing such a good job on your health before coming in. And there's nothing worse when you're eating a healthy diet and trying to exercise, and about stress, and you're getting your sleep regular, but you're still hurting. It's awful.
Yes, it was very frustrating
to put that work in and not get the result. And so if the normal average patient was here from a lifestyle, you came in already at a high bar. And I will say that I think that that's part of the reason why you did so well, is you were doing the fundamentals, and all we had to do was then really just work on the gut and let us really focus in on I think a good treatment plan.
Yes.
Let's go to that. So can you talk a little bit about your experience with the initial GI program that I gave you?
Yes. So first time I met you, you recommended several different testing things that we did. And one of them was a mycotoxin test, which I remember when you talked about it, I was like, no, in my head, I was thinking this has nothing to do with my GI. Of course not. But I was like, we'll try it. And I'll get to that in a minute. But in the meantime, you had me start Elemental Heal. And again, I was skeptical just simply because I've been doing this for a long time. And, I didn't think that there was a product that could actually clear me up that quickly. But I did a 4-day Elemental Heal where I just purely had Elemental Heal. And sure enough, I was shocked. Everything went back to normal. And I will sing Elemental Heal's praises to the mountaintops, because to have a product, if you've experienced diarrhea, or maybe it's constipation, but if you've had any kind of GI issues that are persistent and won't go away, it is such a relief to finally be normal again, and that's something we take for granted, or I did before. And so to be regular again after Elemental Heal was just a huge relief. And so we did that. I was already eating pretty healthy, but you had me eliminate dairy, and I'm strictly gluten-free, but you also had me eliminate some other grains. So that was helpful, I think, to reset. And really my gut health has been pretty awesome since then. I have done a second 2-day elemental heal a couple months ago just to reset. And I'm going to use that as a toolbox. I'm going to keep that in my toolbox for the future to do it, every so often to help.
Yeah. My recollection of the timeline was that after the initial therapy, which was elemental diet, small tweaks to the diet, right, and probiotics, you were about 90% better with the bloating and the irregular stools. And
yes.
What happened, and so the first thing to just kind of put an emphasis on is that's a great response to elemental heal, and we see that often, right? It's not always as magical as you experience, but frequently enough so that I really wanted to give you a trial early on. And I do this often with patients, right? Because if they get that miraculous, the clouds part and the sun comes out and their GI symptoms are done, we want to be able to have that tool in our pocket, right? So a few months later, some of that bloating crept back in. And I said, that's okay, just do another 2 days elemental heal. And I think that was pretty helpful at just getting you back to the baseline, right?
Yes, it was. And the bloating, I'm glad you mentioned that because it's been so long, you kind of forget the bad stuff. But man, my bloating, nearly every day, it was extremely painful. It looked like I was well into my second trimester, which is kind of cruel because I'm struggling with infertility. So to feel my stomach expand every day, and it hurt. It was very, very painful. So that was another major symptom I had, not just the running to the bathroom.
Yeah, that abdominal pain and bloating was definitely stood out to me as something that really needed to be worked on first before anything else, right? And that's what we always like to do is the low-hanging fruit and the first things first, and then you move on after that. One of the things to kind of take a little different tack is you were on a bunch of supplements when you first came in, and I had you stop everything. What was that like for you?
Oh man, I was so nervous. But I decided if I was going to see a doctor, I was going to follow everything you said. But man, I was taking just every morning, lunch, and evening, like a pile of supplements, which I thought were all great for me. I thought I was doing a good job of my health. But it was funny when you had me stop them, I was really expecting to notice some detrimental side effects, and I didn't. And the wonderful thing about that is, first of all, we're saving money because we're not buying all these supplements every day.
Absolutely.
And second of all, I just, anytime we put something in our bodies, even if we think, it's not harmful, I have to imagine there's some kind of effect, long-term maybe. So I'm glad to have cleaned up my supplements. But it was definitely something I was, I was nervous about.
It's funny. I kind of have to convince my patients and poke at them a little bit to clean things up at the beginning. But, if you stop something and you don't go backwards, it wasn't doing anything. Or maybe it was back then, but you didn't need it now. And the key practical point was you came in and you were really suffering. So we needed to do something different, right? So thank you for being so willing and a great patient to jump off the cliff with me. And I'm so glad that you survived it.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. All right. So you did great with the GI perspective, and we really got your symptoms down to where they're kind of a manageable, normal place. And that was really the first goal. Luckily, after we got that response for you fairly quickly, we were able to kind of pivot to other concerns. And for you, we did that primarily for two reasons. Is that when you came in, we identified that you had been exposed to mold, number one. And this is a hugely, I think, underreported and underrecognized issue. And it really, really can damage people's health. The other was that you had a history of elevated mercury levels. And so in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, let's get Julie's GI symptoms squared away, and then let's see what we can do to clean up some of this toxic burden. Can you share your experience in taking that next step to kind of the detoxification realm?
Yes. So I will say I'm sure every human watching this or, who follows your show, I feel like everybody right now has a lot going on. Just with COVID and life in general, it's been a rough couple of years for everybody. And so when I got those mycotoxin results in, I was not happy. It showed very high levels and I felt extremely overwhelmed. And when I had that follow-up appointment with you, where you suggested, that the source may have been our living situation, I felt even more overwhelmed, and it felt like an impossible hurdle to remove myself from the source. But at the same time, I knew that if, I could do all the healthy things in the world, but if I was still being exposed to mold every day, I was not going to get better. And my husband and he got tested as well, and his results were extremely high as well. And so we figured it was our house. We were living in a mobile home at the time following a hurricane, and we still weren't convinced completely because it just was a big, moving out of your home. It felt like such a big thing to do.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, that's my cat.
We allow cats.
And it's extremely high as well. And so we figured it was our house. We were living in a mobile home at the time following a hurricane, and we still weren't convinced completely because it just was a big, moving out of your home. It felt like such a big thing to do.
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, that's my cat.
We allow cats.
And so we got a local environmental company to test our trailer. And when she walked in, she said she could smell it. And she immediately identified several active sources of mold that were growing. And she told us, pack a bag, wash the bag and everything in it, and don't spend another night here. And when we got that news, then we were like, we've got to get out of here. And so it felt overwhelming, but people want to help you. If you reach out to loved ones or a friend, and that's what we did. We reached out to a friend and he said, come over here. And it was such a relief to have a place to go that night. We brought our dog and our cat. Like, we were not like an easy couple to live with, because we brought all of our baggage with us. And but we lived with them for a few weeks. They were extremely gracious, to let us just crash at their house, and until we could find another living place. That was a wonderful place in between, but we had to move out. I mean, I feel like that's number one, is you have to get out. And then in the meantime, we were doing a binder protocol that you had prescribed me. And that it was just, charcoal and clay. It felt to me like, it wasn't a prescription drug. So I felt very comfortable taking those binders every night, and the results have been great. Yeah.
So thank you so much for saying that, because I had to get out of a moldy environment to get better. You had to get out of a moldy environment to get better. And clinically, your energy came back at that stage. We didn't need naps anymore, right? You're thinking more clearly. And to me, that's what happens when patients get out of mold, and then when they start binding programs. And so I believe we've had a repeat mold toxin test and having the levels drop down as a result of the binders. And so we love those therapies. They're very safe and they're needed to kind of reset the body. So thank you for sharing that, because I know that's going to help some people. And I know it'll make my job easier, because I can point them to your video and say, see, it's not just me who's telling you to get out of your house.
Right. Yes.
So thank you for that. This has been fantastic. And I just can't thank you enough for being here and sharing this. This will help a lot of people. Is there anything else you want to share with a potential patient about your experience, or any advice after seeing improvements in your health?
Yeah. I definitely would defer to you, Dr. Joe, and Dr. Ruscio, and the other physicians in the clinic, because obviously, y'all have experience with mold and GI, and I would definitely urge y'all, if you tell a patient something drastic, it's because it's necessary for their health. And I feel very grateful to have found y'all and to have gotten, all the help. And don't give up. If it feels overwhelming, take one day at a time. But no, I mean, that's really it. I'm just really grateful to y'all.
Well, Julie, you are fantastic, and I'm grateful to have the chance to work with you. Thank you so much for being here. And I know I'll talk to you real soon.
Okay. Thanks, Dr. Joe.
You're welcome.